Oh, is it recording? You need to go like 3, 2, 1, and then hello, I'm Joe Egan, and this is Sprosi, Shveda. Swedes, what they think is funny, they like laughing about the Danish. Also a little bit about, I think, relationships and kids and, you know, family members and things. And probably about themselves a bit, the weather and maybe their religion, but they're not religious at all. So like how they may say, they think the Last Supper is like what they had for dinner last night, you know, things like that. Yeah, because it's like any art form. If you practice, you get better at it. You learn little tricks of how to make the audience like you, and it's like a sport. Like you get, as you practice, you get better and better. The more hours, and it's a very interesting art form. I took a course for beginners in 2007. They had a course at like a community college kind of thing in Stockholm. And it was 1 week where a sort of famous comic in Sweden, he did the course for like a week. I think that was January 2007. Yeah, it was fun. I learned a lot, yeah. About 50% of my income is comedy. So performing in shows for company parties, corporate events around Scandinavia, Europe, and also doing comedy clubs and get paid to do comedy clubs, and also organizing clubs. So I have like a club here at the Scandic in Malmö, Sweden, and also in Gothenburg, and a few in Holland and Luxembourg too. And then I also translate for IKEA on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It's quite a long story, but I'll try and do the short version. I was always writing funny ideas in like a book for funny commercials for television. And I was like approaching advertising agencies with these ideas, and that's really not how that business works. You can't just like, hey, I got a funny idea. So I told my friend about this, and I'd been writing the ideas in this book since like 1992. And they said, well, if you want to share your ideas with the world, why don't you try stand-up comedy? And I was like, oh yeah. It's a good idea. So I found the course in 2007, and then started doing some open mics, you know, for rookies in the spring of 2007, and then slowly got better. In maybe the north of Sweden, don't make fun of, you know, feelings, because people don't really know how to express their feelings in the north of Sweden, maybe. Or in certain cities in Sweden, don't talk about marriage very much, because everyone's already divorced, so they just get depressed. If it's done well, yeah. If it's clever, where even someone from that race is laughing, then if it's done right, it can be done really well. And even jokes about like sexual orientation or stuff, if it's done right, then it can be very hilarious. I've been to shows where the comedian is gay, and then people in the audience, some of them are gay, and I even did and they're laughing like so much. And then I did a show one time where I have a really long, nice bit about Braille, like the bumps that blind people read. And there's a blind person in the front row just killing themselves laughing, and they like, if it's done right, and clever, then it's doable. Well, when I do company parties, I use this like a slideshow, so PowerPoint, with guitar music and stand-up at the same time. So there's an American-Russian comic actually called Dmitry Martin, and he has a very, he was my biggest inspiration, because this format of comedy is very different. We're using pictures and music at the same time, and I really love it, and it's really my favorite kind of comedy to do. One time, my favorite story of this is doing a show in Copenhagen, and it was a very large Irish bar, very rowdy, and nobody was really laughing very much. I was only doing it 1 year or so, and they asked me to host the show. So I'm I wasn't really, when you're hosting, you have to do like talk to the crowd and things, and then nobody was laughing. And then this little old Danish guy was writing a piece of paper on a table, and I was like trying to do jokes and nobody's laughing. I'm really sweating. And then I finally asked the Danish guy what he's doing with the paper. And he's like, I'm writing a suicide note because you're so bad I want to kill myself. Yes, I mean, it has to be clever, quite clever stuff. But harder than Estonians. Estonians laugh at anything. I mean, you feel like a god when you perform in Estonia. It's like if we were at a party, people do that all the time. Oh, you're a comedian, tell me a joke. What's an orgy at a Greenpeace conference is veggies and dip. That's not as good, maybe. Okay. I usually have this one thing that I use if I'm doing a new joke, which I'm not sure if it's going to work. I'll say, and they don't laugh, and I'll just say, oh, it's a new joke I'm not working on anymore. And then they usually laugh at that. Oh, I love how any show you have no idea how good or bad it's going to be. I love all the factors that you can't affect. So if someone before you has been really bad and the audience is like really tired, then how to use your skills to build them back up, to really like, you never know how fun it's going to be. And if you have a really good show, you feel like really good after, and people in the audience are like, oh, that was really cool, you know, oh wow, you're so good, you know, can you come and do a show at my, you know, divorce party or wedding or something. I think that it's hard to know where your career is going to go. I think it's really harder, especially for people in their 40s and 50s who haven't really been super famous yet and who wanted to. It can be really disenchanting for them that they haven't made the big break to television or something. There's a lot of older comics who, luckily I'm running clubs too, so I enjoy that just as much, and I don't get really down about like not being booked or something. But there's a lot of depressed comedians out there, I think. Take a course, if they find a course. There's usually courses somewhere. There's also a book called Zen and the Art of Stand-up Comedy. It's on Amazon or whatever. And it's written by Jay Sankey. And if they read that book, it has all these like little tips that a lot of the other books don't have. So instead of buying like 20 books and getting 1 or 2 tips from each book, that book has like 40 or 50 great tips. And it'll really fast forward your level like 3 years after reading the book. It's really fascinating. Probably the most underrated comic is Isak Jansson. I think he's one of the best in Sweden, and not a lot of people know about him. He's really, really good. And then there's this guy from New Zealand called Al Pitcher, but I think most people in Sweden know him, but he's from New Zealand. He's very good. Very good at crowd work too, talking to audience, also material and crowd work. And a really twisted, fun humor is Henrik Elmer. He's very, very funny. He's got some really strange material, which I think a lot of people really like if they saw it. This is a really fun interview. Thank you for having me. People with no thumbs, they must be really bad at hitchhiking on the highway, because they'll be like, I need a ride, please pick me up.